You paid a fee today, and it didn't show up on any receipt. Not a bank fee, not taxes, not a late charge, not something you could point at and complain about. I'm talking about fees so normal, so quietly embedded into everyday life that most people don't even register them as fees anymore. Think about your day for a moment. You bought something small, you tapped your phone, you used an app that promised to make life easier. Nothing felt expensive, nothing felt wrong, and that's exactly how the system works. Because hidden inside those normal moments are invisible charges that don't look like charges at all, yet when you add them up, they cost the average American more than rent. Once you really notice these fees, you won't be able to unsee them. And by the end of this video, you'll probably realize you've been paying them for years without ever consciously agreeing to them. Most people believe money problems come from bad decisions. Too much coffee, too much online shopping, too many impulse buys, too many treat-yourself moments. And sometimes, sure, that's true. But here's the uncomfortable reality most people never consider. Nothing feels expensive anymore. Everything is just a few dollars. 5 here, 8 there, 12 for convenience. Each one feels harmless on its own. No alarm bells go off in your brain, no guilt, no pause, but together they quietly drain money without ever feeling like a mistake. And this isn't accidental. Modern systems aren't designed to stop you from spending. They're designed to make spending feel effortless, forgettable, and normal. Think about how different this feels compared to big purchases. When something costs a lot up front, your brain reacts. You hesitate, you evaluate, you decide. But invisible fees don't trigger that response. They slide under the radar. They're small enough to ignore, frequent enough to matter, and constant enough to reshape your finances without you ever noticing when it happened. That's why people wake up one day feeling broke without being able to point to a single bad choice. Let's talk about convenience, because this is where everything starts. When was the last time you truly waited for something? Not fast shipping, not express checkout, not same-day delivery, but actual waiting. Convenience used to be a luxury. Today, it's the baseline expectation, and the moment you don't want to be inconvenienced, you pay extra. Food delivery is the easiest example. You open an app, the food price looks fine, and then the extra charges slowly appear. Delivery fee, service fee, small order fee, tip. A meal that should cost $12 suddenly costs $27. But it doesn't feel like theft, it feels like a choice. And that's the trick. It feels optional, but functionally, it isn't. It's the cost of participating in modern life. This same pattern shows up everywhere. Fast shipping costs more, but waiting feels unacceptable. Rideshare prices spike, but driving feels inconvenient. Streaming platforms charge to remove ads, but interruptions feel unbearable. You're not really paying for convenience, you're paying to avoid friction. And once friction disappears from your life, the absence of friction becomes something you're willing to pay for again and again. Over time, the convenience tax stops feeling temporary and starts feeling permanent. Now let's talk about a fee you don't see in your bank account, but you feel in your body. Technology promised to save time, and in many ways it did. Tasks that once took hours now take minutes. But here's the part nobody tells you. That saved time didn't become free time, it became work time. Emails used to wait, now they follow you everywhere. Work used to end, now it lives in your pocket. You're reachable at all times, expected to respond quickly, and subtly pressured to always be available. That constant availability has a cost, not in dollars, but in exhaustion. And when people are exhausted, they spend for relief. They order food instead of cooking. They subscribe instead of learning. They choose convenience instead of patience. The system doesn't directly take your time. It nudges you into trading money for energy. Again and again, quietly, until it feels normal. You're not lazy, you're tired. And tired people make expensive choices without realizing that exhaustion is what's driving them. This is where subscriptions come in. Try to name every subscription you're currently paying for without checking your bank statement. Most people can't, and that's not because they're irresponsible. It's because subscriptions don't feel like spending. They feel like background noise.
$6 here, $10 there, $12.99 somewhere else. Your brain doesn't register them as purchases. It rounds them down to zero, until one day you look at your account and think, wait, who is charging me? And canceling is never as easy as signing up. Passwords, emails, confirmation screens, reminders of what you'll lose if you leave. Subscriptions turn spending into a habit instead of a decision. The invisible fee here isn't the subscription itself, it's forgetting that you're paying it all. Then there are the micro fees everyone complains about but still pays. ATM fees, processing fees, convenience fees, paper statement fees, fees for accessing your own money. Each one is small enough to ignore, and that's the entire strategy. Nobody protests $2, but $2 multiplied by millions of people every single day is enormous. It's not a side effect, it's a business model. Notice how these fees are framed, not as punishments, not as penalties, but as administrative costs, neutral, boring, easy to accept. Over time, they quietly raise the baseline cost of living without ever attracting attention. Some invisible fees don't take money directly, they push you towards spending. Think about the mental load of modern life, managing accounts, remembering passwords, tracking bills, comparing plans, making constant small decisions. It's exhausting, and when people are mentally tired, they stop optimizing, they stop researching, they stop resisting, they choose what's easiest, and what's easiest almost always costs more. That's not a personal failure, that's human behavior in a system designed to reduce friction around spending. There's also a subtle psychological fee that shows up when spending becomes invisible. When you don't physically hand over cash, your brain disconnects the action from the cost. Tapping a card or phone doesn't feel like losing money, it feels like completing a task. Over time, that disconnect makes spending easier, faster, and less emotionally noticeable. And this isn't accidental either. The smoother the transaction feels, the less resistance your brain puts up, and the less resistance you feel, the more often you spend. Add all of this together and a pattern emerges. The modern system doesn't rely on big financial mistakes. It relies on small habits, tiny fees, constant convenience, and reduced friction. Nothing dramatic, nothing that feels dangerous on its own. Just enough ease to keep money flowing quietly out of your life. That's why people feel broke even when they're doing everything right. They're not failing, they're participating. Once you start seeing these invisible fees, the goal isn't to eliminate them. That's unrealistic. Modern life runs on them. The real goal is awareness, knowing which fees are actually worth paying and which ones you're paying simply because they're hidden, normalized, or inconvenient to question. Because the moment you can see them, you regain something important: choice. So think about this honestly. Which invisible fee surprised you the most? Or which one do you notice draining you every single day without you ever stopping to question it?